Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. My name is MiAh the King, and did you hear about the actor who broke his leg on stage? He's still in the cast. Now then, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Last Train Home, an RTS game focused during the Great War where you control a train. The ins and outs of it, along with large groups of soldiers traversing the land and trying to survive. Developed by Ashborn Games and published by THQ Nordic, this game is selling for $40 American and is not in early access. As we go forward, please keep in mind that this is a surface review, not a full review. Now then, kind of like I said, basically you are playing as Czechoslovakian soldiers who are on their way home. They were on loan to the Russians during World War I, and now they're on their way home basically, and Russia is in a civil war and they want you to take sides. But you don't want to take sides because it's not your fight, and the Russians don't like that, so you need to traverse their lands in your handy-dandy little train and do whatever you need to do to get home safely. All of this takes place around World War I, as I mentioned. Got it? Great. This game is both simulation and RTS. You have the strategy and the planning and the organizing, but you also have combat, inventory management, skill management, and more. I could keep going, but let's save that for later. For now, I like to think that you guys out there get the gist of what it is that we're looking at here. So, as always, let's go into the good and the bad, followed by my final thoughts, okay? Up first, as always, is the positives, and for the first one, I want to talk about it's the graphics. Now, granted, at first glance, these might not look the best, maybe slightly better than Company of Heroes 2, but it seems the developers chose to use lower-tier graphics so that they could jam more gameplay components into their game. Basically, what you're looking at right now is actually just medium-level graphics, and it still looks pretty good. Now, don't get me wrong, the contrast and the sharp detail is lacking a little bit, but the color scheme and the overall color contrast, as well as the attention to detail, is there. And just look at the graphics in this cutscene. Now, I don't know if these are live actors or if this is just really good graphics. It's so hard to tell, probably because of all the post effects that they added in here. But look at this. Like, they're willing to go to this level of effort to make their cutscenes look this good. Like, if those are real people, which they look like real people to me, that's freaking amazing. So, that's the kind of effort they're putting into their cutscenes here, and you love to see it. Next up for the positives is the sound effects and the music and whatnot. Now, the music is just average, maybe a bit below. It's not really anything special. It fades into the background, doesn't really accentuate anything, and kind of just comes and goes, and you pretty much forget about it. But the game's voice acting and its overall sound effects are freaking on point. The voices, even in a different language, to me at least, sound really good, which adds to what you're doing and what you're reading. And the sound effects for the bombs, guns, and train all sound really good too. The next positive thing that I really want to get elbow deep into is the gameplay. The gameplay here is just awesome. I mean, this shit is intense. I simply can't get into everything in the game in this short video, so I'm going to have to just try my best to sum up everything and then just assure you that it works and it's great. So you can move around the map with a squad of soldiers for real-time combat, but you can also pause it so you can plan out moves and strategies and use skills. Not to mention, each squad mate is of a different class, thus coming with different weapons and skills they can use. Also, as they level up, you can unlock new classes, skills, weapons, and change their weapons, as well as give them other items that'll help them out, either on the train or off the train, all to better the way each mission is played. You can use stealth or go in guns blazing. You have to scavenge for supplies both outside and inside of missions and try to keep your crew alive. Then you've got the fact the game lets you pick dialogue options for certain scenes or gives you large events where you have to make choices that are going to affect your resources, crew, morale, health, or whatever. Along with that, you have the actual management of the train. Not only can you speed up how fast the train moves, but you can also speed up time, which is awesome. Be careful though, speeding up the trains will make it use fuel faster, so not the time, but the train itself. When you choose the train speed, it'll make you burn through fuel, so don't do that. Be careful of that. Then when you're on the big overmap, you can send out multiple squads to explore, scavenge, trade, or go on combat missions, each with new maps, new items, new events, new everything. You can upgrade your train, change your train to fit your needs, build artillery guns on your train so that you can fire artillery on enemies you come across on different missions, and I could definitely keep going with all the content and things to do or things to explore in this game, but unfortunately I've already been speaking too long about this. No, I didn't get to everything. Yes, there's more, and yes, that's all I found in just the first 2 hours. Basically, the gameplay is innovative, it's in-depth, it is detailed, it's intricate, it's fun, it works, and that is, it was just great. Very well done. Next up for the positives is the length, and I'm sure replayability. There are various options of things you can set up before each campaign, making it as easy or as challenging as you wish. The length of time, I'm sure, is going to be worth its price because, I mean, it took me about 2 hours to complete Chapter 1. I'm sure there's going to be more than 3 chapters, especially when you know the story and what kind of adventure you're about to go on, plus the difficulty and time-consuming nature of a moving train and the multiple times you're going to want to try it and do better. And I'm sure this game will make at least 8 hours, and they would be a pretty good 8 hours the whole time. There might even be more than that depending on how you play, but I think 8 to 10 hours is probably a good base for how long this game's going to be. There's bound to be big choices you have to make, which will give the game replayability, and there's also different crewmates and different things you can do. So, you know, that's pretty awesome, and that's why I wanted to make mention of it. And the last positive thing I have to say about the game was its stability. Its stability was pretty decent for me. I don't remember any glitches or bugs. There was a weird sound bug where all my sound, music, voice acting, etc. was seriously just scratchy as hell and sounding like a broken speaker, but I know it's not my computer. So that was a problem. But other than that, I don't remember anything substantial, and it seemed to run pretty smooth for the most part. No frame rate dropping, glitching, freezing, or crashing. So that's always good to see and experience when you're playing a new game. Okay, so that's all I got for the positives, and now we got to go on to the negatives. But before that, my channel grows very slowly because of how small it is and because of how many people are out there putting content on YouTube. But you guys and girls out there can actually legitimately help me grow faster and bigger, and then you can be like a year from now, I was there when he was small and now he's big. All you got to do is like, subscribe, but most importantly, you got to share my content and you got to share my channel online. Get the word out. It helps me way more than you know. So if you find this video entertaining or at least informative, then please consider helping my channel grow. Thank you. Now then, on to the negatives. And the first negative is the user interface. It's what stuck out to me first and frustrated me the most. It's confusing, it's hard to navigate, it's hard to understand, and it's suffering a bit from giving me needless information. I know what leveling up my units does. I don't need more info about it. I know what equipment is. I don't need it explained to me. The particulars of the equipment I need explained to me, but I don't need to know what equipment in general is. It'd be one thing if they were telling me something I didn't know, but some of the information is, did you know leveling up your units makes them stronger? Like, no shit, Sherlock! So it's not like the worst, but it's still a bit too much, and I wish it was a little more simplified. It's a lot of stuff to manage, and it's a lot of stuff to keep an eye on. I don't need more stuff to inspect and crammed in there to manage and read along with everything else. Plus, it's just confusing and annoying and not very pretty to look at, so yeah. Next up for the negatives is the tutorial. Now don't get me wrong, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's one of those where if you want more information, click here and then you get a whole page of boring text to learn about food and what it does. I'm pretty sure you could teach me what it does in one small sentence. Keeps people alive. Huh, look at that, 3 words. So why a whole paragraph? Now, some of the tutorial parts are actually done well, with dialogue, voice acting, step-by-step instructions, but the majority of what you need to learn are in large text dumps in a boring, uninteresting way. I don't want to study your gameplay, I want to learn your gameplay. And I know what you're thinking, well, isn't studying learning? And yeah, in a certain way, it is. But I want to learn through experience. I want to learn in an engaging way. I want to have a hands-on learning experience, not a hands-off learning experience, especially if it's with a video game. That's why we're here. So it's not very fun, and these kind of tutorials are what make people not want to do them, because they're boring. And that's pretty much it for the negatives, really, just those 2 things. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't mention things like price or menu options or controls, right? Well, that's because they are neither good enough to be in the positives or bad enough to be in the negatives. For instance, the menu options are perfectly average and what you'd expect, but nothing grand that I need to put and say in the positives like special mention. It's like, no, they give us the requirements, so good for them. The controls are a little bit awkward, but when you realize this was done so that way you can use WASD to move the camera or other, you know, easier ways to control the game, you can forgive it. As for the price, well, I'm kind of finding it hard for me personally to judge and discover whether it's good or bad. Does it deserve the price? Well, I mean, it does have voice acting, amazing cutscenes, a massive scope of things that you can do and manage, plus a lengthy playtime, replayability, tons of text and dialogue, all well written, and options and freedom. So, I mean, if you look at it that way, yeah, it does deserve such a big price tag. But for me personally, in my own opinion, for games like this, they always feel a little bit small, and I feel like $40 it might just be a bit too much. That's just me personally. I personally would have liked to have seen this game at $30 and it would have been perfect. So I can't put it in good or bad because it's just too hard for me to judge it effectively considering all I know or don't know about the game, so I'm not going to judge its price and just give you my opinion, which is what I just did. So now down to brass tacks. Do I recommend this game? Should you give it a try? Should you spend your money on this? Well, if you were interested in a detailed, in-depth strategy simulation game with lots of depth and effort, then hell frickin' yes. However, the game isn't very fast-paced. It requires a lot of thought and time to get to know it and to learn it, and it takes a lot of patience and understanding. So if that's not really what you're looking for right now, then you might want to look elsewhere. However, if you were even remotely interested in this game after seeing my video, then yes, I would highly encourage you to check out this game. Yes, it's a bit pricey, but you get what you pay for in this case. A fully released game, not riddled with bugs, with effort, time, and care put into it. And it's a full game with loads of potential. I am actually excited to get back into it and play it and learn it and see what happens next and experience more of this. So that's all the time I got for this video, everybody. This is a pretty damn good game, so go check it out. Thanks to everybody who decided to check out my video and stay till the end. If you found my video fun or informative, please support my channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.